This is my first ever post on Reddit, and I'm only posting here because my partner thinks I might be able to get some advice. I have lived in my house my entire life. It's a 2-story brick home with wooden floors and a 2-room extension at the back of it, looking out into the backyard. That's where I live. I have my bedroom and my lounge room, which are connected. There's direct entry into the lounge room through the back door that leads to the yard. It's important to note that my bedroom window is on a 2nd story. My 6'8" partner had to be on his tiptoes to touch the glass of my window. For quite a while, I have felt incredibly uneasy being home alone, whether it is during the day or at night. My partner and I chalked it up to poor mental health, considering no one else in my family seemed to notice anything off. Another point of note: all the women in my family, including me, have experienced something paranormal in their lives. A couple of weeks ago, I was awoken by what I believed to be the sound of my back door handle being played with. It's an old, squeaky glass and wood door with metal handles, a very distinct sound. After being frozen in place for quite a while, I turned in my bed to face my window and grabbed my phone. I have horrible eyesight, but what I believe I saw was a tall, white, skinny figure right at the back of my yard near my dad's shed. I rubbed it off as a trick of my mind, being half asleep, and went back to bed after shutting my curtains. Another note: I used to always sleep with my curtains open until this incident. A few days ago, I was lying in bed watching TikTok videos. It was about 1 a.m., and I hadn't slept yet. I also wasn't tired at all. My curtains were closed, but my window was open. My phone was on full brightness, and my volume was loud too. When I eventually turned off my phone and rolled over, I heard a very clear, distinct knocking on my bedroom window. It was knuckles on glass. After being completely frozen for about 3 to 5 minutes, I rolled over and called my dad. The call went to voicemail. After the voicemail tone rang out, I heard shuffling and movement from under my window. Dad eventually came with a floodlight torch, but there was nothing. My partner was worried about a stalker, so we set up a Ring camera. There's been nothing yet. I am currently house-sitting, but I visited my home at around 2 p.m. today, home alone. The front door was locked, but the back door was open as I was repotting a plant in my yard. I have had really good mental health recently, so I know my feelings are not attributed to that. Sitting in the backyard, I thought I could hear walking around in the house behind me, and I distinctly remember being too scared to look back at the house from the yard. I feel okay being in my room or my lounge room, but the rest of the house gives me a deep, uneasy feeling that nags at me constantly when I'm alone. I'm sorry for such a long post, but if anyone has any advice or ideas, they would be greatly appreciated. Thanks. Update. Wow. Firstly, thank you so much to everyone for all the advice and comments you left on my previous post. Unfortunately, I really didn't have time to implement anything before things hit the fan. Here's what's happened since that first post. Yesterday, I was driving back to my house about 10 minutes away when I got a notification from my Ring camera that a person was detected in my backyard. My partner gets the notifications on his phone as well, and he called me straight away. His first words were, "Hey, I've just checked the footage. There's literally nothing there. Can you please FaceTime me when you get to your house? Something feels really off." Keep in mind, my Ring camera is pretty poor quality because it's a fisheye lens, but it was also around 2 p.m., so a person would have been very easy to see. Next, I arrive at home. Instantly, I see that my side gate is half open. I called each member of my family, and no one had left through the side gate that morning. I called my dad and he told me to call the police and wait in my car with the doors locked. Both he and my partner left work to come to my house after I phoned the police and told them I was worried someone was in my house. Typically, the police didn't show up, but my dad and my partner did. We all went through the backyard and did a sweep of the entire house. Nothing. My partner and I replayed the footage from when we got the person detection notification, but this time we turned the sound on. Clear as day, you can hear my back screen door being shaken twice, or pulled at. I found this really weird because the screen door wasn't locked, meaning someone would be able to open it instead of just shaking it. This was instance number 1. For instance number 2, my partner, Dad, and I were sitting in the office, which was the farthest part of the house from my room and the back door. We were there for probably about 20 minutes until my dad left to buy more cameras to set up around the house. Then it was just my partner and me. We sat together in the living room while he was setting up an online work meeting, as he had fled work to come to my house. He was reviewing more footage from roughly the time we were all in the office. We both heard scratching coming from my window security screen, followed by the same 4 knocks that I heard the previous week. It freaked me out, considering no one heard anything in the office, but it was clear as day on the recording. As the camera faces outside, you would be able to see if someone was doing it to the outside of my window, meaning it had to be coming from inside my bedroom. I want you all to remember that all the footage I'm talking about I have downloaded onto my phone, so I have solid evidence of each of these events. I won't be sharing as it shows my entire backyard. For the 3rd and 4th instances, I went into my bedroom to scope it out and to also check for hidden cameras. Yes, I'm paranoid. My partner left to go to the bathroom, which is also at the opposite end of the house. This was the only time I had been left completely alone since being home, and my curtains and window were completely open as it was 2 p.m. Nothing happened to me while I was in there, but my boyfriend came sprinting out of the bathroom, holding more footage from the Ring camera. This time, you could clearly hear heavy breathing, and what we both thought sounded like someone licking their lips. Now, because of how clearly we heard it, it means it would have had to have come from directly next to or in front of the Ring camera. The camera is at least 7 feet off the ground, and it would have captured anything visible around it because of the fisheye. Again, on the camera, nothing. Just the sound. I also didn't hear anything while I was in my room. We had previous footage of a howling gale of wind hitting the camera as we wanted to compare. This was louder. While I was alone in my room, I did something stupid. I know it was stupid, but I was afraid, and my better judgment went out the window. I sat on my bed and said to my room, "You are not welcome here. I am not afraid of you." I completely forgot what I said until my partner and I were leaving my room after reviewing the footage, and we heard a crack behind us. We turned around and saw my little Lego cat that my boyfriend built me had been thrown across the room and was lying perfectly on the floor. There was no wind, and this cat was on the highest shelf in my room, so it couldn't have been knocked over. My partner also picked it up and dropped it from knee height, and it shattered instantly. But it had been moved halfway across the room and was still in perfect condition. That was the last straw for me. We both bolted out of the house, and I haven't been back since. No one else in my family has experienced anything. This is the most activity I have experienced in my entire life. I'm not Christian or Catholic, so I don't think invoking Jesus will help me out with this one. His name would hold no power because I don't believe. I think whatever it is malicious. Not getting good intention vibes. What are we thinking now? Hey guys, this story is the most realistic experience I have ever had. I still get goosebumps every time I talk about it. When I was 13 or 14 years old, I'm 25 now, my parents and my two cousins stayed at a beach house in Juan Dolio, Dominican Republic. This place was owned by one of my parents' friends. We didn't know the history of it, and to be honest, I still don't know it. I have asked my mom to ask her friend if she knows the story behind the place, so I digress. We went to this beach house to stay for a few days. The place was oldish but had hints of modernity. The first floor really isn't important since nothing that I know of happened there, but the second floor, that's where the weird things started happening. I remember going to the second floor and seeing like 8 old twin beds. They all had bed sheets and looked ready to use. It was so odd. Imagine all the beds are aligned, and if you continue walking forward, there is the master bedroom. But if you were to go where the bed started, that's where the bedroom my cousins and I slept in was. This room had a small yet powerful wall AC and a white plastic chair. There was also a closet with drawers, a queen bed, and a twin bed. The twin and queen beds were together. My cousin slept in the queen, and I slept in the twin. Now that we have the environment set, let's talk about what happened in this room. The first occurrence that one of my cousins and I started hearing was the chair moving at night. We believed it was the powerful small AC that was moving it. We even did a little experiment, and it's true the air actually pushed the chair. But the problem was that specifically at night, the chair would move, and it wasn't close to the AC. At first, I thought it wasn't possible because I didn't believe in ghosts. So, I was still skeptical. The second occurrence happened when my cousins and I went to the beach. When we came back, the room was literally the opposite of how we left it. The sheets were undone, the closet doors and drawers were open, the light was on, the door was open, and the chair was moved. I told my parents, and they didn't believe me and just said it was probably one of my cousins pranking me, since one of them was known to be mischievous. Let's give them names. The one who isn't mischievous is J, and the one who is E. One night, when we went to bed, J and E slept on the queen, and I slept on the twin. The beds were put together so that it looked like a big bed. J was closer to me, and E was on the other side of the queen. So J, in some sense, slept in the middle. This is important because the third occurrence is the one that impacted me the most. This is the definition of inexplicable. I am a night owl, so I usually fall asleep very late. I'd say it was 1 or 2 a.m. when I decided to go to sleep. I put my phone down and pulled my covers up to my chin since the room was cold. I closed my eyes and had not yet fallen asleep when, 2 or 3 minutes later, it happened. Out of nowhere, the covers were pulled all the way to my knees. I'm 6 feet tall, so you can imagine the distance they traveled. When this happened, I sprung up so fast. I thought it was my cousins pranking me, but Jay wouldn't do such a prank, and E was on the other side of the room. So, it was impossible for this to have happened. I got up and tried to wake up my cousins. I started to lightly smack their faces and shake them, but they wouldn't wake up. I even opened their eyes, and they were still passed out. I was scared out of my mind. My next thought was to go to my parents' room to tell them what happened. But having to get up and walk by the creepy beds to get to their room made me stay put in the room and just watch the sunrise. I couldn't sleep a wink. I was too scared. This is the most surreal experience I have ever had in my life. There was no logical explanation. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had left the room. My curiosity makes me wonder this. Please let me know what you guys think it could have been. Also, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. My grandma's house is haunted, period. I've been telling people for years it's haunted, but I've been brushed off because nobody has died here. Recently, other members of my family have begun to notice things and are asking if I also think the house is haunted. I kind of gave my mom a look like, really? Anyway, here are some stories. When I was younger, probably in elementary school, I would see people on the second level peeking over this ledge we had. They were not fully formed people, but rather these dark, shadowy figures. It freaked me right out, but I was also young and could have been imagining things. When I was a bit older in high school, I thought I was maybe going a bit insane, schizophrenia or something. I was in the bathroom, getting ready for bed, when I heard a voice. "What are you doing?" I opened the bathroom door quickly to tell my grandma not to tease me. She was asleep on the couch and not fake sleeping because there was no way she could move that fast. I ignored it and went to lay down. I slept on a couch at this point in my life, and as I was trying to drift off, I heard another voice, a different voice, ask, "Do you think she can hear us?" I slept on the floor next to my grandma that night. Now, I go to school and decide to tell my homies about it. Everyone is a little comedic with it, teasing me and all that. A few weeks later, an actual human friend comes over, and we are baking cookies. We put them in the oven, close the door, and look at each other. "What should we do now?" I ask. My friend pauses, opens her mouth, and we both freeze as a little girl's voice says, "You can play with me." Note: there are no little girls in my house. My friend, God bless her soul, called her dad right then and there, and left. Sorry, Caitlin. Then I moved out. I left home and only moved back in December last year. I didn't hear anything and assumed I was not losing my mind. About a week ago, my grandma confided in me she was worried about hearing things. She said that she sometimes hears my mom ask her questions when my mom isn't home, or somebody else calling out to her. I was concerned about dementia or something similar, and I also bought a carbon monoxide detector. I brought up the incident to my sister since I was going to push my grandma to go to the doctor. My sister then informs me she has also heard voices. They call her name, and when she goes to talk back to the person calling out to her, nobody is there. She gets upset because my room is next to hers. So when she hears my voice, she goes into my room, and I'm not there, wasting her time. The flickering lights are one thing, and the shadow people could be a trick of my mind. But for multiple people to hear voices now, it changes the game. At this point, I need to get rid of this thing, but it'll take me some time to understand everything. I believe in ghosts, but a mimic? I don't know how to feel about that. I'm sure I have more stories somewhere in my brain. Oh, some extra notes. We used a Ouija board once several years ago. We said goodbye and everything. I severely doubt it actually did anything. Additionally, I don't practice witchcraft, but I do use tarot cards for funsies. Maybe I should stop.